Good evening and welcome to our final class. Okay, so this class, which really wraps up the whole season, is welcome, Rebecca. Nice to see you. Is till now we're talking about meditation as simply a mindful meditation. In the first 5 classes, we're talking about just meditation. You've got to meditate. What does Judaism feel about meditation? But really now what we're going to focus on is meditation as an action, as actually something related to action, and specifically we'll see how it relates to mitzvot. In fact, it's central to all the mitzvot, all the good deeds that we do on a daily basis. It's central. Meditation is central to it. Okay, so there's a couple ideas here. Let's get straight to the chase. So let me share the screen. Right, okay. No, wrong screen. There we go. That's PowerPoint. Oh God, I don't know what just happened now. Hold on. Yeah, I'm lost. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Hold on, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Everyone's still here?
Yep.
Okay, I'm just you think I would know how to do this after using it so long. I'm still getting used to this tech business again. Okay. So let's share the screen. Okay, there we go. Okay. So this is what we're dealing with tonight: mindful awareness and divine spirituality to help you think, feel, and live more deeply. Lesson 6, mind and matter, the influences of meditation and practice on meditation. By the way, it's both of these. What we're going to learn tonight is how does meditation influence practice? And when we say practice, we're specifically talking about the mitzvot. And how does mitzvot practice influence meditation, which is actually just as interesting as the first one. Okay, let's see. Cognitive exercise, action orientated. So the first 5 lessons we were really talking about, now we're going to be talking about specifically action orientated, which we're going to see now. The meditation, how central is it to Judaism? I think after 5 lessons we've discovered it's very, very, very central, and now we will just see that it's even more relevant to every aspect of our lives on a daily basis. That's what we're going to see tonight. Okay, what is meditation that we're going to be discussing tonight? The effort to purposefully focus your mind and develop a deeper awareness to achieve a desired result. So till now, we kind of discuss meditation in our mind, that cognitive, it's not really related to action. There's exercise 6.1 in your books in front of you. You on a scale of 1 to 5, estimate the centrality of each of the following to Judaism. Action. How important do you think action is to Judaism? Values, faith, and mindfulness. Right? Think about the answers. Now, of course, we preach values and practices and all that, and meditation, kavanah. But today, we will see just how important it is, each of these things. Okay, look at text number 1 in front of you. Okay, text number 1 in front of you should say as follows. The Mishnah says, Lo hamidrash ikar ela hamaaseh. What is important in Judaism? The essential thing is not study, but deed. If you are a scholar and you study all day long, that is wonderful. It's great. It's amazing. But the bottom line is the most important thing to do in life is action. Think about this. Let's say there's a poor person in front of me and he needs money. Right? Let's say there's a Ukrainian refugee going to Israel and he needs money. And you're going to now meditate and you're going to think. And you're going to think, it's such a good thing to give him money, and it's wonderful, and it's amazing, and that's great. Meditation is wonderful. But in the meantime, while you are focusing on your meditation, the poor guy is starving to death. He needs money, and he doesn't care why you're giving him the money. He needs the money. So that's why the Mishnah says over here, the main thing is the deed. So we're all familiar with Shabbat and fasting and Yom Kippur and Tzedakah and all the mitzvot. And the meditation may have value, but seemingly the main thing is the deed. What we're going to learn tonight is that even the active practice of the mitzvot is part of meditation. Even the act of doing something is part and parcel, one thing with meditation. So just like your mind, you can harness it for meditation. We will learn tonight that your actions can be harnessed for meditation. Again, we learned till now that your mind, you can think and you can have kavanah and you can have meditate, as we learned in class 1 to 5. Tonight, we're going to learn how you can utilize your hands, your action, your mitzvot for meditation as well. That is the purpose of tonight's class. Okay, so let's look at text number. Well, by the way, it's a mitzvah to hear shofar on Rosh Hashanah, right? We all know it's a mitzvah to hear the shofar. So what happens if you have a Jewish couple who are unaware that it's Rosh Hashanah, and they don't even know that it's a mitzvah, and they go for a stroll in Central Park, and suddenly the Chabad rabbi is blowing the shofar for a group of people, and they hear the shofar, they happen to pass by, and they hear it. Did they fulfill the mitzvah or no? By the way, this happens to me all the time. I'm on the shofar, blowing shofar, and somebody's running there. So did they blow the shofar or not? So this exact question is actually debated in the Talmud. Look at text number 2, this is the exact question. It says like this: to fulfill a mitzvah obligation, we must actively intend to observe that mitzvah. Therefore, if we observe a mitzvah unwittingly or for a purpose other than to perform a mitzvah, we have not fulfilled the mitzvah at all. Some Torah authorities disagree and opine that mitzvot do not require intent and are fulfilled even when performed unwittingly. However, the final law sides with a former opinion that means that if you want to fulfill the mitzvah properly, you need to have in mind, you need to have meditation, you need to be focused 100%, otherwise you do not fulfill the mitzvah of meditation. In other words, everybody agrees that ideally mitzvot, of course, they need intention. Question just is if you did it without intention. So let's just give an example of this. Let's say you set a rule for your child, right? Child can't go out after 10 p.m. Child can't have a smartphone. Whatever the rule you set for your child is. And the child, so you don't care whether the child is obeying the rules or not, out of respect for their parents or not respect for the parents. You only care that your child is safe. So does intent matter at all or not? We'll see that mitzvot are much, much more than just, in other words, with your child, I just want my child to be safe. So just come home 10 p.m. Don't leave and party till 1 a.m., right? It's a teenager. Don't do things that will make you crazy and I don't know, whatever the teenage guys are into today's day and age, right? I don't care why he does it, I just want him to listen to me. But with God, we'll see that he wants you to have meditation. He wants you to focus. When you, for example, when you make Kiddush Friday night, you know that if I'm making Kiddush, I need to have in mind to have in mind everybody when I do the mitzvah of Kiddush, and you have to have in mind to fulfill your obligation when you hear the Kiddush. So obviously, it's not just about hearing Kiddush, it's also about meditating and focusing on the Kiddush, which we will see what that meditation is in a moment. But you get the idea, it's meditation in the mitzvah is paramount, and we'll see why exactly in a minute. Exercise 6.2, the book's in front of you. Identify 2 mitzvot you recently performed, an interpersonal mitzvah and a ritual one. In the chart below, describe the motivation that propelled you to perform these mitzvot. What were you trying to accomplish? And while you're doing that, I'm going to share, look at the back of the screen. So has the mitzvah been fulfilled? No intention plus action, intention plus action. So there's 2 ways of doing a mitzvah, right? No intention, but there's action, versus intention and action. So tonight we're going to be discussing what's the importance of having intention, having focus, having meditation with the action involved as well. So we see from the fact that the Torah says you need to have intention as well, we see that the purpose is not just the action. Right? With my child, the purpose is the action. When with Hashem, with the mitzvah, you see that the purpose is intention. So obviously, it's not just that I need to do it. There's much more to it than just doing it. It's intention and focus as well, which we will see in a moment. So what is the purpose of a mitzvah then? Let's see. This is what we're going to see now. So obviously, we need to redetermine what is the purpose of a mitzvah. Why do we do a mitzvah? We need to figure out why we do a mitzvah, because once we figure out why we do a mitzvah, we'll figure out what intention and why intentions play such a paramount importance. So look at text number 3. Mitzvah. What does mitzvah mean? Mitzvah is lashon tzavta b'chibur. Mitzvah means connection. The word mitzvah means commandment in Hebrew, but the word mitzvah also means tzavta in Aramaic, in Hebrew as well, which means connection. As in the Aramaic term tzavta, attached joint. One who performs the mitzvah bonds with God's very self, for God is the issuer of that commandment. This is the significance of our sage's statement. The reward of a mitzvah is the mitzvah. The bonding of the mortal who performs the commandment with the infinite God who issued the commandment is itself the greatest reward. Okay, let's think about this. Imagine I have a person who I love, right? So imagine your husband. Imagine your wife. You love her, you love him. So what do? What do you do? So sometimes you want a relationship. And in order to get that relationship, you will sometimes do acts of service and devotion. If your wife likes you to take the garbage out, you'll take the garbage out because you love her. If your wife or husband wants you to go to the baseball game with them, you'll go to the baseball game with them if you love them. You'll buy a gift for them. You'll do acts of service. You'll do actions. Why will you do actions? Because you want to forge a relationship. Why do you buy your wife a gift on her birthday? Because you want to forge the act of love. So in a similar way, God wants a relationship with us. Now the gap between God and us is infinite. There's no connection between us and God. So how do we connect? So God says, here are 613 ways. If you do the mitzvah, you connect with me. So it's an opportunity to connect with God. In other words, in this model, the intention is connection. So just give you another example. Imagine President Biden calls you over now and says, Daniel Klein, can you please do me a favor? I need you tomorrow. I'm going to send the first Air Force, whatever it's called, the first plane, the first whatever. And I'm going to send Vice President Kamala Harris to pick you up on Air Force One. Or President Trump, sorry, if you like Trump better. So Trump or Biden or Pence, whoever you want, whoever's your president. And he says, come 9 a.m. to the airport, I'll pick you up. And I need a favor from you. I really need you to get on the phone with Zelensky in the Ukraine and Putin, and I need you to please try and negotiate a peace. Will that make you feel good? I mean, whether you can or cannot, will make you feel good because you're honored to serve your president, if you like him, right? If it's Biden or Trump, you don't like them, they know, right? But if it's Trump and you like him, or if it's Biden and you like him, you will be honored. You will be privileged because the greatest, the most powerful person in the United States and probably in the world has called you to do something for him. That's called a relationship. That's called forging a relationship. So think about this. The Supreme King of Kings, God Almighty, with all his power, he's much more powerful than Biden and Zelensky and Putin, calls you, Daniel Klein, tomorrow morning and says, Mr. Daniel, I would like you to do something for me. What is that? I want you to put on tefillin for 45 minutes, for 5 minutes. I want you to light Shabbat candles. You will be honored because now you have a relationship with the greatest, supreme, most powerful King of Kings. Can you imagine? That's the meditation you need to have as a general meditation for every mitzvah. Now, I'm not talking about a specific meditation, which we're going to get to in a moment. I'm just talking about a general meditation and focus before you do any commandment. It's to connect to God. Now, when you put on tefillin, it's a different experience. Now, when you pray, it's a different experience. Now, when you light Shabbat candles, different experience, because you've been meditating and reflecting upon the fact that you are now connected to the Supreme King of Kings, the most powerful person in the world. Now we can see our screen. Yeah. The mitzvah means connecting, like we just learned. The person performing with the one who requested, right? Imagine it's your teacher and you're a 5-year-old child. You'll be honored to do something for them. Imagine your teacher, like my 4-year-old triplets, they love their teacher. If the teacher asks them something to do, they will do it. They love it. Connection. The reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. Ethics of our fathers say, of course, the reward is long life. Of course, the reward for the mitzvah is many, many things. But the greatest reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah. What does that mean? The greatest reward is connection. You are now connected. Relationship. Think about this. How do you have a relationship with God? You connect with Him. Very simple. This is how you connect with Him. By the way, if I have a child, I have 8 children. Each one loves something else. One of my children loves chess. So you know what I do? I play chess with him. I play chess with him. Why? Because that's a connection. Another one of my children likes me to read her stories. She loves stories. So you know why I read her stories? Because I want to connect with her. That simple. So you do what the person wants you to do. In this case, God has instituted 613 various ways of connecting with Him. That's how you connect. So God's desire for a mitzvah makes us relevant. It's for us, right? God is so high, we are so low. We're living in this universe. But when you do a mitzvah, it's important for Him. If your wife likes, going for walks, if your wife likes hikes, if your wife likes, whatever it is, you'll do that because you love her. I hope you'll do that for her, because if you don't, you're in trouble. But if you do it, if you like her, you want to spend time with her. You want a relationship. Right? If it's flowers and everything else. The deeper the feeling, the greater the impression. Okay? So think about this, right? The picture in front of you, you have flowers, right? Buying flowers for your spouse. So let's say you buy your spouse flowers, right? Let's say it's Friday afternoon before Shabbat, you buy your spouse flowers. You bring them to the house, you put them on the table, and you don't tell her a thing. And then she comes to the Friday night table and she sees flowers. And she says, oh, did you buy flowers? And you say, yes. Now that's very nice. Very nice. But what happens if you buy the flowers and you put a beautiful card in it? Then you come home and you tell your wife, I love you so much. Look at these beautiful flowers that I bought you. You imagine that's a different experience. You know why? Because you put feeling, intent into it. The gift of giving the flowers is meaningless. Imagine you buy your husband a watch, right? You just dump the watch on his bedside table. That's great and it's wonderful, and probably the husband would appreciate it, right? But imagine you buy a card with it and you tell your husband, this is the watch for you because I love you so much. It's a different experience. That's what it means. In other words, the act isn't the relationship. It's what goes with it. It's the intention. It's the expression of love that goes with the gift. That's what it is. So imagine you just put on tefillin. That's great. It's wonderful, but that's just like giving the watch. But now imagine you put feeling into it. You meditate. You contemplate. You think to yourself, wow, now I'm connecting on high with something so spiritual on high. That's a different experience. Right? The act of doing the mitzvah is great. It's wonderful. Imagine you sit in the sukkah. It's wonderful. But now imagine you concentrate and you meditate and you reflect. The deeper the feeling, the greater the impression. And this is why, look at text number 4 in front of you. This is the inner significance of the blessing recited prior to performing a mitzvah. Any mitzvah you do, you say a blessing. Blessed are you who sanctified us with His mitzvot. In Hebrew, the word kiddush means sanctification, and betrothal, which means marrying. Through performing a mitzvah, we are bound to God like a man betrothing his wife for the sake of being intimately united with each other. The Torah states, he shall cleave to his wife, they shall become one flesh. When we study the Torah, or perform a commandment, we each achieve a similar, indeed, and infinitely deep and true unity within our soul, along with all its elements in God's absolutely infinite light. In other words, seen through this lens, every mitzvah is actually a meditative practice. Every mitzvah you say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Asher Kiddishanu, he married us, b'mitzvotav, with his mitzvot, with the mitzvahs that I'm about to perform. By the way, right now we are fulfilling a mitzvah of learning Torah. So if you actually think about the Torah that we're learning right now, and you meditate upon the fact that we are not connecting to the Supreme King of Kings, it's a different Torah class. I'm going to play this video for you now to understand this exact thing now. Hold on. Video. PowerPoint, hold on. Video momentarily. Here we go.
Pleasant thoughts can instill joy. Your imagination can conjure up many beautiful things, and yet it can't match reality. The actual experience in real time, in real life, surpasses imagination. Gently close your eyes and become aware of how powerful your imagination is. Conjure up a picture of yourself flying through the air with ease, comfortably, like a bird. The imagination allows you places and experiences that are beyond the laws of nature, because imagination comes from a very profound spiritual source. Bring to mind someone you love profoundly, a child, a spouse, a good friend, whichever. Become aware of their absence. They are away from you, perhaps on a holiday, perhaps living in another city. In your mind, give them a hug, embrace them. How does that feel? Doesn't it feel wonderful? And yet, if you were to meet them personally, one-on-one, and embrace them in reality, would not that be even much more powerful? That's why when people are absent and our connectedness is breached, we yearn and want their presence. And when they are with us, we can create that presence, the wonderfulness of being truly one. Imagine the thought of doing a mitzvah. saying a nice word to someone who needs encouragement. And yet, all the good intentions don't measure up to actually saying it in real time, in real life. When we do a mitzvah in real time and real life, we embrace Hashem. We touch what we call atzmos, the very essence of godliness. Make a personal commitment after this session to experience an embrace of God through doing a very real mitzvah.
Okay. Deep stuff, Rabbi Wolf. Okay. So till now we're discussing the general meditation in mitzvot. Now we're going to show a few examples from specific mitzvot, and we'll see how they are specific meditations, not just a general meditation to become close to God, but a specific meditation. So let's look straight at text number 5. Text number 5 in front of you. Our sages state that the mitzvot were given only to refine the person. The purpose of the mitzvot is not to benefit God, but rather to benefit humankind, to keep them safe from harm, to shield them from negative beliefs and base character traits, to remind them of the miracles and wonders of the Creator, and to help them know God. Meaning, the mitzvah is not for God, a mitzvah is for us. The Midrash employs the term tzaref for refining, which usually refers to refining silver. This informs us that the mitzvot refine mortals in a similar way to the way a silversmith refines silver. Silver refinement is a purposeful task done for the sake of removing all impurities. Similarly, the mitzvot are designed to remove every harmful belief from our hearts, to inform us of the truth, and to enable us to be constantly mindful of the truth. That is a very, very deep concept, because many, many times people tell me, I don't want to do mitzvot because da-da-da-da-da. You should do mitzvot just for yourself. Forget about from a religious perspective, from just a human perspective, as we'll see in a moment. Let's look at text number 6. Each of the 613 commandments exist either to communicate a correct view or to dismiss an unhealthy view, to communicate a rule of justice or to ward off an injustice, to endow people with a noble moral quality or to warn them against a negative moral quality. So mitzvot are for our benefit, they're not for God's benefit. All right, let's look at the screen here. There we go. Okay, so mitzvot require meditation, is what we learned. Mitzvot are the meditation, right? Look at that again. Mitzvot require meditation versus mitzvot are the meditation. Now, what we're going to learn now is that a mitzvah is the meditation. We'll get to that in a second to explain exactly how that works. How is a mitzvah meditation? How is giving charity a meditation? How is putting on tefillin a meditation? How is keeping kosher a meditation? And we'll learn, we just learned, that it's for our benefit, not for God's. Mitzvah keeps you safe from harm, shields you from negative beliefs, shows you about the miracles of the Creator, and allows you to know God. Okay, look at text number 7. No, sorry, before text number 7, hold on. What comes first? Oh, there we go now. Fine. Hold on, look at text number 7 now. Okay, this is where the crux of the matter is in text number 7. This is from the Sefer HaChinuch. And now, my child, writes the Sefer HaChinuch, I will enlighten you to appreciate the Torah and its precepts. You are influenced by your behavior and your feelings and thoughts consistently follow your actions, whether for the positive or the negative. Your actions have the power to overcome the negative inclination within you, since the attitudes of your heart are influenced by your behaviors. This is very, very deep stuff. I'm going to explain it. We normally used to thinking that our behavior is stemming from the inside out. Our feelings and attitudes define how we act, right? If I'm in a lousy mood, then I'm gonna, you know. But if I'm in a happy mood, yeah, you know. So my actions are gonna be determined by my feelings. That's how we are normally wired to think. If I'm in a good mood, I can get everybody in a good mood. But if I'm in a lousy mood because I had a fight with my wife, then right? That's how we are normally wired to think. But it works the other way too. And Judaism insists on making it work the other way too. The way we behave, even if we don't fully know and aware of how we're behaving or why we're behaving, affects our internal emotional cognitive processing. Somebody once came to the Rebbe. There was a girl, she couldn't, she was very selfish. She was very selfish. She couldn't get married. She was very old. I mean, old, Chabad terms, relative terms. And the Rebbe told her his advice. It's a long story, but to cut a long story short, the Rebbe's advice was every single day, think of something you could do for somebody else, one act of kindness for somebody else. The rest of the day, be selfish. And what happened is, after she did one act of kindness for somebody else every single day, this affected her behavior and she became a selfless person the rest of the day as well. You know, the being happy is hard work. Why is being happy hard work? Because being happy sometimes comes, you know, I make $1 million, I'm happy. If the stock market, my Bitcoins that I've invested in 25 years ago goes up, I'm thrilled. I have a baby, I'm thrilled. We used to thinking that happiness comes from external things. Like, I am happy because something happened to me. But the Torah says, you're supposed to serve God with joy every day. You're supposed to be happy. Happiness is internal from you, from deep inside you. You make yourself happy. By you doing a mitzvah, it will affect everything you do. You know, when you go on these I don't know what they call behavioral courses or whatever, you know, they tell you, you know, your posture has to be good, like, you know, like go like this, you know, like exercise, you know, personal trainer, go like this and then like that, and then, you know, feel. They tell you your behaviors are going to affect your mood, right? And it's true. Torah thinks the same thing. Let's look at it. Oh, here we are. Exercise 6.3. Yeah. Slouch your shoulders and frown for 10 seconds. How do you feel, right? Like this and frown, makes you feel lousy. And then stand tall and straight. A wide smile and your arms open for 10 seconds. How do you feel? This is one of the most famous TED Talks by Dr. Amy Cuddy, I think her name was. Right? You can Google it. She spoke about body language. She speaks about presenting the idea of power posing. Research shows that the way you stand, the way your behavior affects your mood and affects other people around you. It's a TED Talk about this. Torah gave this TED Talk thousands of years ago before this Dr. Amy lady. Right, so they all tell you about confident body posture. Give a public speech. Stand confidently. Why? Because when you stand confidently, that will affect your speech. It will affect how you speak. Yeah, Torah says the same thing. Those are mitzvot, as we'll see in a second. When you do a mitzvah, it will affect you. As we'll see, mitzvah is a meditation. Okay, so let's look at the screen here. So what comes first in the screen in front of you? What comes first? That feeling, one second, right? That feeling and then the donation, or first the donation and then the feeling? Think about this. This is brilliant, actually. What comes first? We used to thinking, I'm so inspired, and therefore I'm going to give a donation, staka. Torah says it could work the other way as well. You could first give the donation and then you'll feel so good. It will affect your feelings. There's a story told of a person who told the rabbi they don't practice Judaism because they don't believe in God. Again, they said they don't practice Judaism because they don't believe in God. The rabbi's response was profound, and he said, it's the opposite. You don't believe in God because you don't practice. I'll say that again. The guy comes to the rabbi and he said, I don't believe in God. I'm sorry, I don't practice Judaism because I don't believe in God. The rabbi says, you don't believe in God because you don't practice. Because your behavioral mitzvahs, they affect everything about you, subconsciously or consciously as well. And this is supposed to shift your whole attitude of mitzvot. They're not just taxing tasks like, oh, I can't turn my phone on, and no, why can't I eat in any restaurant? Today I ate in a kosher restaurant with Levachat soldiers, and the bill was ginormous, and like guy says, like, why do we have to eat kosher? It's like ginormous bill. So it feels taxing and whatever. But by forcing yourself to the motion, it ingrains something in your psyche, as we will see specifically in a moment. Okay, so now we're getting to specific mitzvot. Hold on. So let's get back to the book. Text number 8. Okay. The main focus within Judaism is action, which entails practically fulfilling the mitzvot. This is what we learned at the beginning. You have to actually do the mitzvot. That's the main thing. At the same time, each Torah-based action has an effect on the person's character. Learning Torah and fulfilling mitzvot refine the mind and emotions, as repeatedly emphasized in the work of Maimonides, who served as a guide for the perpetuated generation and continues to serve as a guide for truth seekers in all subsequent eras. Okay, but now we will see specifically what it is. Okay, so let's look at exercise 6.4. In the chart below, record what you might consider the meditative agenda of listed mitzvot. Right? Charity, honoring parents, observing Shabbat, tefillin, mezuzah. Okay, before we go to the next part of the exercise, let's look at text number 9. So the first mitzvah that we're going to go look at is the easiest one. Right? We'll start with the easiest one. Charity. What's the value of charity? Very simple. The poor person receives help. End of story. You know, you want to give a refugee money, you give the refugee. You want to give a Levachat soldier something, you give him something. You know what I mean? Like, it's very simple. The guy gets what he needs. Simple. But there's also a meditation here when you give charity. And it provides benefit for the giver just as much as the receiver. Probably the giver more, by the way, than the receiver. Sefer HaChinuch writes, text number 9, look in front of you. The root of the mitzvah to lend to the poor is that God desired that his creatures become accustomed and train themselves in the characteristics of kindness and mercy. For these are praiseworthy characteristics. And through training their bodies to act according to positive traits, they will be worthy of receiving goodness. For as we have explained, goodness and blessing fall exclusively on the good. If it were not for this benefit, God could provide the poor with their needs without us. Rather, out of sheer kindness, the blessed God made us his messengers so that we could become meritorious through the process. In other words, God could have designed the world that nobody needs. There's no giver and receiver. Everybody is a giver. Everybody has the same. He could have created the world that way. Nobody needs charity. But he wanted us to develop positive character traits. He wanted us to exercise our kindness muscle. You know, when you go to the gym every day, you exercise your muscles. You train. So when you give tzedakah, when you give alone, you are training your exercise muscles of kindness. It makes you kind and makes you worthy of more blessings. Let's see the screen here. Kindness. Oh, that's already the next part. Hold on. Okay, let's go back to the case. And text number 10, similar vein, because it's honoring the parents. The root of the commandment for individual to honor their father and mother is that it is fitting for a person to acknowledge and return kindness to those who provided goodness, and to avoid becoming a selfish, ingrate, and evil and repulsive attribute in the eyes of God and mortals alike. Right? Your parents are the ones who fed you. They gave birth to you. They did everything for you, everything. So it's only right that you give back to them. What does that do? That inculcates in you the idea of gratitude. The mitzvah is designed to spur us to contemplate that our parents are the material cause of our existence in this world. It is therefore truly fitting to honor them in every way and to provide them with every benefit that is within our ability, that they brought us into the world and also toiled on our behalf in numerous ways when we were young. So when you do the mitzvah of calling your father, of calling your mother, when you spend time of your day, text them and message them, do something for them, take them to the doctor, I don't know what it is. That's a meditative experience, because remember that when you're doing that act, it is making you a better person. It is making you a grateful person. You are mindful of that idea. And remember that your behavior will give rise, your action will give rise to the behavior. So you're ingraining and developing in your psyche the importance of gratitude. This meditative quality will spill over into other areas of your life too, and make you into a more grateful person. Right, that's the screen over here. Kindness, we just learned. Gratitude is with honoring your father and mother. And now the next one, creationism. This is, we're going to look in the screen in the text number 11. The root of this commandment of Shabbat is to abstain from work on Shabbat, is that we should free ourselves from our occupations to honor the day of Shabbat, thereby instilling within ourselves belief in God's creation of the universe. But this belief is the core to which every foundation of our religion is attached, right? But when you observe and honor Shabbat, you develop a stronger faith in the creation, and you imprint this into your minds. Right, that's what it says here in the screen in front of you. Creationism. Okay, and the next two are tefillin and mezuzah. Let's look at the text number 11. Sorry, text number 12. Tefillin. Among those commandments from God that are for the sake of molding thought in order to serve Him in purity is the commandment of tefillin. Tefillin are to be placed in the body in locations corresponding to the brain and the heart, organs that are referred to as the seats of intellect and perception. Laying tefillin and contemplating their purpose leads to dedicating all thoughts to good, and leads to constantly remembering to be careful to collaborate all deeds in righteousness and justice. I'll give you an example. A human being, when let's say you want something that is not yours. So we all have temptations. For some people, temptation is fill in the blank. What your temptation is, which is sinful, or whatever it is, I don't want to mention it now. So your heart desires it. When you put on tefillin, your brain over here and your heart are aligned. That inculcates in you the idea that your brain rules over your heart. It makes it every single day a meditation that your brain rules over your heart. Control your desires, control your beastly temptations. Okay, text number 13. We must be careful to observe the mitzvah of Shabbat, of mezuzah, for it is an obligation that is constantly incumbent upon everyone. Through observing this precept, whenever we enter or leave our homes, we encounter the symbol of God's unity and recall our love for Him. This activity shakes us awake from our spiritual slumber, our obsession with material vanity, so that we recognize that nothing we gain lasts forever except knowledge of the Creator of the universe. This will spur us to regain proper mindful awareness and make upright decisions. So every time you go in your house, out of your house, and you see that mezuzah, you see Hashem's name over there, you remember your love for Him, so it awakens you from this like mundane and trivial pursuits of this world, and you realize there is a God in the world. That's every single time you go in and out of your doors. Right? So you have these 5 ideas, look in front of you on the screen. Kindness is from, we just took 5 examples, by the way. Kindness is tzedakah. Gratitude, which is honoring your father and mother. From the Shabbat, you learn that the creator in the world was created. The world is not just here randomly. Tefillin is mindfulness. Tefillin is probably a strong one. Mindfulness, meaning you are mindful. When an evil thought, an evil impulse comes into your head, you know your brain rules over your heart. You are in control. When you have a negative thought, when you're upset about something, your brain rules over your heart. And the mezuzah is you remember God, spiritual eternity. Okay, so think for yourselves. Look at the screen in front of you. What is the purpose of the mitzvah? So in the beginning, we learned just a general meditation that a mitzvah is a connection. When you think, Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, that you are betrothing, you are marrying God, you are connecting with God. The idea of when you give flowers to your spouse, when you give a gift of a watch to your husband, so if you could just give it, the act alone is great, it's wonderful, but if you give it with love, you put meaning into it, it's a totally different experience. So too, when you think that every single mitzvah is a connection with God. That's a general meditation. And then we learn the specific meditation in every single mitzvah. Okay. 1 second, there's a video here. Let me just get to it. 1 second. The video. I'll play this with video. 1 second. 1 second. Where's the video? Here we go.
Lesson 6. Mind and Matter. The influences of meditation on practice, and of practice on meditation. 1. Although Judaism emphasizes action over all else, the active performance of the mitzvot have a meditative quality too. 2. Mitzvot, as acts of service to God, bridge the divide between mortal mankind and the infinite God, and mitzvot serve to establish a relationship with God. 3. This meditative intent that motivates mitzvah performance is what makes them meaningful. 4. Mitzvot also personally benefit the person performing them. 5. Our actions and behaviors shape our mindsets and attitudes. 6. Each mitzvah serves as a meditative function to shape our moral and spiritual perspectives and to develop positive attitudes.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, so that brings us to the beautiful conclusion of this 6-week course on meditation. There's some beautiful readings, by the way, in your book at the end, especially of this one, at the end of the book, which I hope you will enjoy and read. There's actually a review